This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, coming at you here today with an important update about some of Canada's newest driving laws and how the government is planning on going after impaired drivers. But it's not just an issue of private property, as you can tell by the title of this video. But no, you won't believe just how Orwellian and downright draconian these new laws are. So let's just jump right into it. You probably already know about the new laws that were granted around 5 or 6 years ago that gives the police the ability to give you a breathalyzer test without needing any kind of suspicion that you may be impaired. And you may have also heard that they can also come into your home and demand a breathalyzer 2 hours after you've been drinking. And if you refuse to take this test, you could be charged with a criminal offense, arrested, and fined up to $2,000. Well, folks, now there's even more of a cause for concern, because now there's a new Ontario law that gives police the authority to charge impaired drivers on private property. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely hate drunk drivers, and they need to be stopped, but not at the expense of giving up extremely fundamental Canadian rights and liberties. We're going to talk about all of that today and much, much more, but really quickly, just before we do, I would ask that you check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal, you can give Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, you could sign up here or there for a monthly reoccurring contribution, you can send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or you can send stuff to my P.O. box, guys. Links for all of this is located in the description below. Thank you so much to anybody who takes 1 minute to contribute to my efforts today here at Press for Truth. Alright guys, so in case you didn't know, way back in 1995, the Supreme Court of Canada already found that the requirements for establishing reasonable and probable grounds for demanding a breathalyzer is not only a statutory precondition to a breathalyzer demand, but it's also a touchstone of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which clearly states in Section 11D that any person charged with an offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty according to law in a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal. Well, you can kiss that goodbye, because the police have been given downright draconian and Orwellian capabilities to infringe on our basic fundamental rights and freedoms. Guys, imagine this scenario for a moment. Let's say you come home from a long, stressful day at work, you kick up your feet and you crack a couple of cold beers, or maybe a bottle of wine, or a few whiskeys on the rocks, or whatever floats your boat. After about an hour and a half or so, you've now knocked back a few and you're feeling pretty relaxed after a stressful day of work. All of a sudden there's a knock at your door, and it's the police, and they say they've received a complaint about an erratic driver, so you now must blow into a breathalyzer. If you refuse, you can be arrested and charged and fined up to $2,000, but if you don't refuse and you blow over, which you know you obviously will, you will be arrested and charged and fined with a fine of up to $2,000. Or let's say you and your wife are heading out to the bar for a night of fun with the friends, and she's the designated driver, but you drive to the bar. You go in, you take your table, you start watching the football game, having a few drinks, doing whatever you're going to do, and then within about an hour and a half, some police officers come in. And they say, "Sir, you've been operating a vehicle within the last 2 hours. We need you to take a breathalyzer or you'll be arrested." Sound far-fetched? Well, this is exactly what they can and are doing right now. And now they want to continue doing this on your private property as well. The Ontario Provincial Police have received buffed up authority when it comes to policing impaired drivers. They can now charge individuals on private property. On November 19th, 2024, the Safer Roads and Communities Act of 2024 received royal assent. This law, in conjunction with Ontario's Highway Traffic Act, allows police to assess a driver's sobriety regardless of where they are. This all stems from a 2016 case where a man was pulled over while he was on his own private driveway. The officers even testified on trial that they didn't pull him over because they suspected that he was impaired. It was just simply part of a random sobriety check, which, by the way, they are allowed to do to anybody operating a vehicle on a highway in Ontario, but not on private property. Well, he ended up blowing over and he was charged with a DUI. But McColeman was able to get the charge thrown out after his lawyer argued that the police had no right to stop him on private property. Because of this, any evidence from the interaction on private property could not be used in the case against McColeman. At the time, the Highway Traffic Act stipulated that police could only administer sobriety checks on highways, which includes public streets, avenues, roads, etc., not on private property. The Crown appealed this decision in the Supreme Court of Canada, and the Supreme Court sided with the Crown and reinstated the charges against McColeman. The Supreme Court judge admitted that the evidence against McColeman had been collected illegally on private property, but it was still relevant to the case. That decision was rendered in 2023. A year later, the Ontario government introduced the Safer Roads and Communities Act of 2024, which amended the Highway Traffic Act to allow police to administer sobriety checks on and off the highway, meaning private property. Folks, when they can claim that you are intoxicated without needing any kind of reasonable suspicion to suspect that you are, when they can come into your home and demand a breathalyzer 2 hours after you've been driving or else you'll be arrested, and when they can breach your private property line for a random sobriety check, you know it's official. We're in a police state. And this has nothing to do with making the roads any safer, but it has everything to do with tracking, tracing, and databasing every single thing we do in this new Orwellian nightmare. But there are some things that we can do to push back against Big Brother in our cars. First of all, guys, if you don't have a camera inside of your vehicle ready to record at any given moment, make sure you get one. It is so important to record your interactions with the police because more often than not, the burden of proof will be on you to prove your innocence. So it's absolutely paramount and crucial that you get a camera and leave it in your car. It's one of the greatest weapons we have in this information war. And also, you always have to stand up to bullies no matter what kind of clothes they're wearing. If you haven't seen my video, How to Get Through a COVID-19 84 Travel Checkpoint with Press for Truth, be sure to check it out and witness firsthand how I dealt with the police when they were demanding things of me that I knew I had the right to refuse. This is a must-see video, so if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. I will leave a link to this in the description below. So I just wanted to bring all of that to your attention today, folks. Be careful out there because Big Brother is watching, especially when you're in your vehicle. Make sure you know your rights and do what you need to do to fight for them. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information. Once again, you can click that top link in the description below of whatever video platform you happen to be watching this on today. And that's all for today, my friends. I want to thank you once again for watching. Please click the thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned, guys. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.